my friends, the great experiment.
The crew doesn't hate the XO, then he's not doing his job.
Good hunting is what you say.
It's part of the pattern, part of the plan.
Are they the lucky ones? That's what you're thinking, isn't it?
Welcome to Greatest Trek, Hot Cylon Summer. It's a new Star Trek podcast about Battlestar Galactica from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica. That's the best show open we've had so far for Hot Cylon Summer. I think that was concise. It's to the point. It wasn't making fun of it at all. It's just what it is.
Yeah, we're zeroing in on something, I think.
Yeah. One dog looks this way, the other dog looks the other way. The guy's like, I don't know what's happening. That's the show. Feels good.
Feels great. How are you feeling, bud? You just get off a workout, or you got a big workout coming up?
Oh, you're admiring my... I'm gonna get up into frame here. My Property of Jim Shimoda shirt.
Yeah.
Incredible!
Designed by our friend Felipe Sobrero.
I love what he's done with this design.
Yeah, it's great.
It makes me feel good. It's cut nicely. You know, some shirts just make you look like a dumpy piece of shit. Like, for whatever reason, this shirt makes me look like I know what I'm doing in the gym.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It feels good.
You look good.
But I'm offsetting that with a little gin and tonic.
Wow. All right.
Little afternoon G&T. When was the last time you had one of these?
In the afternoon? It's been a long time.
Our buddy Curtis gave us a bunch of gin last time we saw him. And this is out of that couple of bottles he gave us. You remember that?
That sounds familiar. I mean, I forget most gin that I come into possession of due to having had so much gin.
Yeah. You've got that gin tooth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty great.
I love a G&T. One of the top beverages.
Yeah. I just go through phases with my cocktails where it's all the one kind of cocktail all the time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm coming back around to G&T now that the weather's hot.
Yeah.
It's a thing and thing, which is also my favorite kind of cocktail. Leave that third thing out of there. That's too much work. Thing and thing.
You want to go find a third thing?
Yeah.
You like what is called a highball.
Yeah.
A liquor and a mixer.
Love it. And an ice.
And some would argue technically not a cocktail.
Well, I don't care what other people think. I'm enjoying this a lot.
I'm not saying you're wrong to call it a cocktail. I'm just saying that, like, technical definition pedants might argue with you. But this is our show, not theirs. They can go start their own podcast about Star Trek / Battlestar Galactica. Talk about whatever they want.
How's it going over there at Casa del Benjamin, R. Harrison?
Well, the last time you and I saw each other, we went and got lunch. Mm-hmm. We went out to lunch in Beverly Hills because I had one of my many medical appointments that for some reason are all on the west side.
Yeah, I was shocked that the dentist you've told so many stories about parks his van over there to do his business.
Beverly Hills has alleys just like every other neighborhood in Los Angeles.
It's true.
But I was talking to you about how, I did that experiment where I bought a cheapo and above ground pool a couple summers ago, and
that was a great summer.
I liked having it back there. Yeah, you guys came for a pool party at my house, and I just have this big dirt lot behind my house. Like, we have a basically totally undeveloped backyard. We have a little patio area, but no grass, no plants of any kind. It's a real depressing thing to look at.
It looks like where most scenes from Breaking Bad were shot, outside, when someone's getting shot or whatever.
Yeah, it really does. We have had the soil tested, and there is some meth present.
Obviously.
Who knows what the big theater building concrete bunker behind the house was being used for, but probably nothing good. No. Anyways, at your encouragement, I've gone and gotten back on my above ground pool bullshit.
Yes! That's great. Let's be clear. You were talking about getting one, and I said, don't ask your wife, just do it. Because this is the sort of thing. Here's a technology that I want FODs to understand. This is going to benefit the whole family. This is going to be good for everyone. If you start involving other people, they're going to come up with all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't. But you're looking out for them, Ben. You're making decisions, and you're making them comfortable the entire summer. I love it.
I'm looking out for number one, my wife. And I went ahead and bought this thing, and then I confessed to her that I had taken receipt of it.
Is that why I'm seeing sleeping materials behind you in the studio?
No, she's perfectly happy about it, and she is not super pregnant, so she won't have to not be able to use it the way she was the summer that I got the above ground pool last time.
Good timing.
She was too far along in her pregnancy that summer to be allowed to be in pools, which I didn't know was a thing, but it's a thing. I think it's because you're trying to get the fetus to go down, not up, and fetuses are buoyant.
What I know about this, and I do know quite a bit, is that what you want to avoid is a pool full of lunch meat. Which, depending on what you're into in your part of town, may be fairly common. Block to block.
No, this new pool we filled with specifically pasteurized cheese, so I think we're pretty much in the clear.
I love it. I'm gonna get you a pool warming present. I'm gonna get you an inflatable Shay Long or something because
that's great.
A float is so necessary.
Yeah.
You know what? You're so fucking tall. I bet you have a hard time with pool floats, don't you?
No, I mean, you're not. It's fine to have your feet dangling in the water. That's perfectly acceptable, and some would argue preferable.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna take care of you.
Oh man, let's get back in that pool and take G&Ts to the dome.
That sounds wonderful. It's the perfect temperature today. At least in my neighborhood, it's exactly 80.
Yeah,
that's the perfect spot for me. No hotter, no cooler.
80 degrees is pool weather, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you tell I've sunburned my forehead? Do I look a little red?
Oh.
I really went after it this weekend in terms of the hanging out outside, reading books, and so forth.
Oh, man.
I really do love this time of year.
That sounds great. Sounds a lot better than my weekend, which I spent sick in bed.
Hey, we got a drop for that now. What's wrong with Ben this time?
We sure do. But the good news is I took a COVID test, and it wasn't that. And speaking of tests, Adam, do you want to get into the episode we came to talk about today?
Just so professional you are. Good job by you, Ben. Let's get into it. It's Battlestar Galactica Season 1, Episode 6, Litmus.
Flesh, blood. Thing.
Security is tight on the Battlestar Audrey 2. Lots of checkpoints you need to pass to go anywhere. This is a runaround of the ship that I don't think we've experienced so far. We're aware that security is tight, but we haven't really seen, the apparatus at work. Right. And that's what this cold open is all about.
You know that thing when you go to, TSA and they really make a point of looking at your face after looking at your ID or whatever? This kind of reminded me of that because you see the security guard looking at one of these civilians boarding the Audrey 2's documents, but he doesn't look at the guy's face.
Yeah.
But it's heavily implied that this is Doral because of the last time on Battlestar Galactica that we got. And so he walks around quite a bit, and we just never see his face. And I was like, please be wearing a beagle puss. Please be wearing a beagle puss. Please turn around and be wearing a beagle puss. And that's how you got past security.
Ben, I don't know what that word means.
Beagle puss is the glasses with the big nose and the mustache and the fake eyebrows that
really?
that you get at a novelty shop. Yeah.
I've only ever heard Marx Brothers glasses or funny nose glasses. I've never heard beagle puss. Ever.
Did I make that up? When I search Beagle Puss, it auto-completes on Wikipedia to Groucho glasses. Groucho glasses, also known as nose glasses, the Beagle Puss, or the GM 2020s.
When I write in Beagle Puss, it auto-completes to Beagle Pussy, which is not a part of the internet you want to go.
Yeah, it sounds like your algorithm might need some tweaking, mon frere.
Yeah. There are no checkpoints to banging Boomer when you're Chief Tyrrell And like Callie is sort of the wing person who stands watch outside the compartment that Tyrell and Boomer are meeting in.
Yeah.
And it's hard to enjoy if you're a viewer what's going on between the two, because we're cutting back and forth between the suspicious dude and the canoodling. And the suspicious dude has got a visitor badge. Colonel Ty clocks this guy.
Yeah.
This guy's a Doral, the guy that they left behind at Ragnar Anchorage.
Yeah.
You ever wear a vest too loud for the occasion, Ben? That's what this guy's done.
Finally turns around and we see his Dan Flash's vest and his beagle puss.
I want that one so bad.
They're like, oh no. And then huge explosion. Tyrell grabs Adama and throws him behind a bulkhead, so they both survive. But yeah, we learn we've got 3 dead and 13 injured from this suicide bombing by a Cylon.
It feels like with the Cylons that look like humans, initially, I suspected that there were Centurions, which were just like, whatever, the pawns on the chess table, like meat, like metal meat, I guess I should say. This is a bad comparison. You know what I mean? Like expendable. And you know what expendable means, Ben.
Doesn't really matter.
But then there were like the human-looking Cylons, and I projected a greater value on them that I shouldn't have, because they're more than willing to blow up and beat up and abuse any Cylon that looks like a human.
Makes me wonder, like, how stratified is Cylon society? Like, are the metal ones just as enslaved by the flesh jobs as the original Cylons were by humans? And if so, why don't they rise up? Why isn't there a continuous cycle of uprising going on among Cylons?
I think I asked that exact question in the last episode, and I think it's a question that we should keep asking every episode that this happens, because it doesn't seem right.
These toasters, what do they want?
Yeah.
We got a meeting with the Master-at-Arms, Sergeant Hadrian, who gets read in on the flesh job situation.
The Cylons look like us now.
Like us?
This lady is given a very, very long leash in this moment, because she says, I'm going to investigate what happened here, how this guy got aboard, but I need to be able to, like, do this and not constantly ask permission to knock on doors and stuff. I was kind of surprised that they were willing to grant her this, given what a bad job she's doing keeping the small arms lockers locked down lately.
I love her deal in a professional context. She's like, okay, cool. I could do this investigation. Here are the 3 things I need. And the reason I bring up the 3 things is that Adama only grants 2 of them. The thing that I like is Hadrian over-asks, expecting and under-deliver, and that is gonna work. Because what Hadrian wants is an independent ability to work outside of the military command and this extremely long leash, and then also wants to inform the public about the investigation. And Adama's like, 2 out of 3. And when you hear Hadrian talk, it really doesn't seem like things are that secure on the ship. Kind of a trend, wouldn't you say? Like, trend of bad things?
Yeah.
As she lists them off. If I'm Adama, I don't like the list. The lists are not making things look good.
They don't make things look good for him, but they also don't make things look that great for her. So I was kind of surprised by it.
Let me ask you a question right now. Do you think keeping this a secret from the people is a good thing or a bad thing for the Cylons? Because you know they're in the background, like, puppeteering this whole thing. Is this what they want? Is this better? Or would it be better for the Cylons if people were being driven crazy with the knowledge?
That's a great question, and I think that the question we need to have some sense of the answer to before I can answer it is, what do the Cylons want? Because it seemed like initially the Cylons were just trying to wipe out all of humanity, but if they have Cylons aboard, like, can't they communicate with them? Don't they, like, then theoretically know exactly where all the humans are? And if so, why aren't they just finishing them off?
I'm with you, man. Like, the Cylons have a plan. We're told this at the beginning of every episode. That plan seems to involve the extermination of the human race, but it sure does seem like they want to play with it first. Like they want to play with their food.
Yeah, they are pawing the maimed mouse all over the living room right now.
Yeah.
Making a huge mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ty, like always, is primarily concerned about riots.
Sure.
But, he and Adama are going to chew on this idea of going public. Meanwhile, we cut down to the storage room off the flight deck, which usually is where all the hooking up between Boomer and Tyrol takes place. But they seem to have moved their love nest to one of the water tanks, I guess.
Yeah, like, why wouldn't you call the place they make out the tool room?
I don't know.
That's not it. This is the tool room, and that's where they're doing this improvised liquor still, right?
Yeah, they're trying to get a still going. Tyrol catches them, and it's one of those, like, he's not mad at them for having done it. He's mad at them for having done it badly. Like, they've made liquor that's going to make them go blind.
The only thing you're making out of this is a one-way trip to sickbay or the morgue.
We know this person. This person is the strict summer camp counselor that ends up being everyone's favorite by the end of summer camp.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Chief Tyrol was cool the whole time. We just didn't know it in the beginning. He had to start off strict.
Yeah, testing his limits was a mistake by us because he was super fucking cool.
I had smoked so much weed with that guy by the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. And it wasn't my weed.
I'll show you people how this is done.
So we cut over to Cylon-occupied Caprica, and Hilo is out on these streets, eyeing a rat in a way that I'm going to suspect is hungrily, while the Caprica Boomer and Number 6 and another Aaron Doral are up there watching him from far away. And it's like they're making bets about what he's going to do. Like, they're at such a remove, they don't really know which direction he's going to go. And here's what they're betting on. If he goes in one direction, it means he's given up on finding Boomer and he's going on his own. If he goes in the opposite direction, it means he's in love. And that means Boomer's still got a chance.
Yeah, I sort of interpreted the rat imagery in this and then them looking down on him from above as he is a rat in a maze and they are like experimenters. And
wow.
I mean,
you're like the police chief from the Sabotage Beastie Boys video, like just pointing at his forehead to convey that he's the smart one in the room. Wow.
I mean, it was another, like this episode, like right at the beginning, right off the bat, seems to be hitting us over and over again with what do the Cylons want? Because it's like, do they want him to go find Boomer or do they want him not to? Like, or are they just kind of curious to see how he's going to behave? Are they indifferent to what choice he makes?
Are we going to watch Hilo eat a rat ever? When is that going to happen?
Not until he's on stage with Black Sabbath.
Here's what I want to ask. Nuclear holocaust has happened on Caprica.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we see all these pigeons and rats everywhere. What's going on? I thought those things would die also. No?
Yeah. It seems like they should. They should have died. Maybe it's a Cylon rat. Maybe the Cylon rat is in charge of everything.
Amazing. I mean, this is like the military project to like weaponize little drone mosquitoes and stuff. Like, of course you'd make a Cylon rat.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Over in Adama's quarters, he tells President Rosalind about the bombing and the plan for the independent tribunal. And she pushes back pretty hard on the tribunal part because she knows that these things can so often turn into witch hunts. You can, like, convene them, and that's the last of the power you have over this thing. Like, you've created the thing, and then it takes on an energy of its own that you or no one else can control at that point. So this is her warning to Adama.
This is when he kind of pitches her on the maybe we should talk to the public about the Cylons Among Us situation. I kind of feel like they do come to this conclusion not because they feel like it's the right thing to do, but because they feel like what they had already chosen just isn't working. So might as well try and change it up.
We get a great Dick Wolf TV show style investigation happening on the flight deck. Hadrian questions a number of people who work in this area about where Chief T-Roll was during the bombing. And it's so interesting to, like, in Callie's case and a few others, like, all of their answers are different. And as a viewer, I just hung my head here like she's just checking all the boxes of a conspiracy, of either a conspiracy or of T-Roll being very guilty. And no one looks good in this sequence at all.
Because their stories are super not straight.
Somehow this is the worst version of how this could go, because like everyone's like, I saw T-Roll here. I saw him over there. I saw him in this third place. And they finish with T-Roll going, I was asleep in my quarters. It almost would have been better if everyone said he was asleep and T-Roll himself said he was somewhere else. Like, this version of everyone's testimony is just awful.
Yeah, it's no good when people are lying on their boss's behalf to the authorities.
Yep. Our employees would never do that. Right? We'll be right back.
We cut over to Colonial 1, where we are in the presidential briefing room, and I was shocked at how many reporters are still alive relative to the size of the population, and specifically, like, White House reporters.
There are as many reporters as there are any kind of person doing any kind of job in what remains of human society, I think.
It really seems that way.
Yeah. Way to survive, Fourth Estate.
Way to keep this new emergency government held to account. President Roslin lets the proverbial cat out of the bag about the Cylons among us.
They look like us now.
Ty is, pretty sure that there's going to be riots, but we never hear of their riots.
I love the moment in crime shows where you go to the easel and you show everyone what's on the easel. Like, there's a cloak over the picture on the easel, and you very dramatically reveal it. And there's that picture of Aaron Doral, and you're like, oh my God. Not only do people know that they look like humans, they know they look like this guy. And then, very sadly, they have a second picture, and it's Loban Kanoy, and the picture they have for him is like on a slab, dead. Oh man! That's tough.
Brutal. So keep your eyes peeled for these two, but also, many, many other potential models out there. We don't know what they look like.
Everyone's kind of like cocking their heads, looking at Loban Kanoy like, I mean, he could look like anyone. He's kind of purple. Like, okay, so anyone who's had the shit kicked out of them. That's who we're looking for? Okay.
How much swelling are we looking at in this picture? Or is that kind of basically what he looks like, but just discolored?
So someone suffering from a sort of anaphylaxis, or they've had the shit kicked out of them, or they're dead.
How much control do the Cylons have about, like, what the allergies of one of these guys are going to be like?
Yeah. A lot of questions. So we're going to let the press ask those. We're going to go over to the flight deck where Chief T-Roll and Boomer are not arrested by Hadrian. They are instead just casually invited to the tribunal. Why don't you come with us? You know these shitty wheelie chairs you got here on the flight deck? We got some nice ones in the tribunal. You're going to want to hit these.
Yeah. You could see the subtext of this scene when they get taken away. Like, all of the crew on the flight deck are watching Tyrell and Boomer walk away, and they're like, well, how the fuck? Like, he was going to teach us how to build a good still. How the fuck are we going to do that now?
The distance between cool camp counselor T-Roll and the construction of this still, like, it's really getting long. Like, I don't have much hope about that still at this point. Who goes first at the questioning? It's Boomer. And she says she was asleep during the time that she's asked about. And then she's asked pretty directly if she is in a physical relationship with Chief T-Roll, something she denies. Can she say where Chief T-Roll was during the bombing? Man, I don't know. I don't know where he was. And we go right into T-Roll's testimony. He's going to tell the whole truth, right? Of course. Of course he's going to.
Got to.
And for that, he gets both barrels of Bob-style questions from Office Space.
What would you say you do here?
Chief Tyrrell, what is your job? Does it have anything to do with closing hatches that need to be closed? Hatches that lead to the causeway that goes to the small arms locker where a Marine was killed and those explosives were taken to make a vest? What were you doing during the time of the bombing? And why did all of these other people testify that you were in all these different places besides being asleep, like you said?
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
Tyrrell, after being confronted with an enormous wave of evidence, a wave like an exploding water reserve out of the ship shooting into space. Tyrrell takes our version of the fifth. He refuses to answer the questions.
Yeah. He takes the fifth or the 23rd. It's just like slightly lower on the list of rights that you have in this society. Oh, but 2 plus 3 equals 5. So I didn't even notice that.
Makes sense. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. He is being accused by Hadrian now at this point of helping a Cylon because there's like a dead Marine that was supposed to be guarding this weapons locker, and he's one of the people that would have the combo to the door. I don't know if you caught this, but there was a very small Spielberg zoom on Chief Tyrrell when the phrase collusion with the Cylons is uttered.
Wow.
Like Hadrian is talking to him, but the camera's in a tight single on him. And it's like, it's blink and you miss it. It's not as flashy as in, Jaws when Spielberg made that technique famous, but it was a little quickie, and I really appreciated it.
We got a Rod Hardy here, Ben, as the director of this episode.
Nice job, Rod Hardy.
Got to look out for the Hardy zoom.
Yeah.
Do you have the correct code to that locker, Chief?
I exercise my right under Article 23.
Specialist Socinus gets pulled into this tribunal and really throws himself on the guilt grenade here. Like, it is a bunch of questions about like the same stuff. Like, where was Tyrrell? Do you know about what he's up to with Boomer? Is he helping the Cylons? And so Sinus kind of figures out how to put himself in a position to have left the door in question unlocked that leads to the weapons locker. He claims to have like gone to the mess hall like during his shift, which he shouldn't have done. Basically tries to own the entire thing on behalf of his boss.
The thing that I found shocking about this scene, like we're wandering towards its crazy conclusion in a way that's somewhat predictable. Like he's covering for Tyrrell and he's answering all of his questions in a way that provide that cover. But by the end of it, for him to say that he didn't accidentally leave it open and instead he left it open deliberately.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it was me. Just me.
There is such a difference between being someone who covers for someone else through like obliviousness versus decision.
Yeah.
And I was shocked by this, that he would do it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's like you can see Hadrian being like frustrated by this because she wanted a bigger fish, and you can kind of see that she suspects maybe he's lying to save somebody, but it's like the thing that he said under oath in the tribunal, so there's not a lot she can do about that.
Yeah. Back on Cylon-occupied Caprica, Hilo is feeling blue. And would you look at that? He's heading south. And that was the direction the Cylons agreed would be the one he would take if he had given up on looking for Boomer. But wait! He hesitated. He's turning north. North! Toward love. And Boomer and the other two watch from the rooftop. That means the next step's about to begin, huh? They're kind of psyched about this. I think this is the direction they wanted him to turn.
Yeah, man, such bad day for night in this whole sequence.
I thought it may have been like a nuclear winter kind of effect. Like, does day look like this? Does night look like this? Does Caprica look like this?
I mean, day looks like Mexico, if you will remember.
Yeah.
So
maybe this is what Caprica looks like sometimes. I don't know.
Maybe. It's really rough.
Yeah. Over in 6 Bay, you remember that's where Starbuck is getting well after her experience flying the meat ship. Mm-hmm. And it's Gaius Baltar there to visit. Kind of a surprising bedside visitor in this case. And hey, Gaius, I already got a cigar. That makes 2 for her. That makes her a very rich person at the poker game.
She really is. So she is talking to him about the bombing. Because she knows that he has like his research space on the same deck that the bombing took place, but she doesn't know what he's researching. And he's like, oh yeah, that was super freaky. And she's like, and why during the bombing were you looking at a copy of your mother's Glamour magazine? And right then, on the curtain separating her bed from the other person in this hospital room, a super busty nurse walks in and starts giving a sponge bath to the sexy lady behind the curtain.
6:30, time for your bath.
We're not very far into this series, and yet every introduction to number 6 into an episode has been very different in a way that I'm enjoying.
I guess it's probably number 6 back there getting the sponge bath, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Number 6 has pretty strong feelings about Gaius feeling a little fearful that he may have been the target of this bombing, his project even.
Yeah.
And Gaius is like, well, why would a Cylon want to destroy me? Because destroying me would destroy you, right? And 6 basically like shoves him into a locker and pulls his underwear up over his head and is like, you fucking idiot. I'm not real. Real Cylons don't know I exist.
Yeah.
You fucking idiot.
She's going to force him to complete this project whether he wants to or not. And also, she's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
There was a great tracking shot while they were talking where he like goes past like a column and she's suddenly not there alongside him. I really liked that.
I love all those little flourishes. Really fun. Back on Cylon occupied Caprica, number 6 and another Aaron Doral are absolutely beating the shit out of Cylon Boomer. And why? It's because when Cylon Boomer finally shows back up for Hilo, she can't look fine. That would be suspicious. She's got to look roughed up, and they are really giving her a go up on the rooftop.
Yeah, just an absolute apex beatdown. Like,
yeah.
This should be on World Star. They should have done it in a Waffle House.
Bro, I just want my waffles, guys.
Should have thrown her off the roof. Probably would have just saved time.
Yeah.
Back in Commander Adama's quarters, he's on the horn with President Roslin, and they're talking about the news from the tribunal, and we learn in the scene that Commander Adama's father was a lawyer, which means he was probably miserable, because all lawyers are miserable. And Roslin believes that Chief Tyrrell is hiding something bad. After all, he took his version of the 5th during the tribunal, and Adama is more than willing to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Because, and I think this was a really interesting defense of Tyrrell, if Tyrrell wanted to destroy the ship, he could. He has access to so many places and so many sensitive parts of the ship that the ship would be destroyed if Tyrrell wanted to do it.
Yeah. There's a lot of trust between those two guys, and as they're having this conversation, a bunch of Marines show up to haul Big Adama himself before the tribunal.
This doesn't seem to be an invitation. That seems to be an order in this scene, right? This is not like before.
Yeah. This is not a friendly invite.
No.
Back on Caprica, Hilo is going through like a bombed out parking lot structure and finds a toaster dragging Boomer around. He gets in a gunfight with the toaster. Looks like he's going to lose, but then he wins. A little bit of a weird edit because he like shoots the Cylon and it like falls on him And he gets up, and then it cuts to him like rolling Boomer's body over, and in a way where it was like I was expecting that to be the Cylon that he was rolling over.
Right.
But yeah, she's got a bag on her head, and when he pulls it off, she is just covered in burger. She is in really rough shape.
When you do bloody mouth kisses with the person you like, that's a special kind of affection.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here. She is really messed up.
It's like kissing somebody that's just barfed, you know? It's like, She probably has, given how beat up she is. Like, who wouldn't barf in a situation like that?
I think in every relationship, you get past the point where you'd kiss your person after they'd barf. Like, I've been married long enough to where I'm not going to do that. I love my wife very much. But early on, you bet your ass I'm kissing her after she barfed, and she's kissing me.
Yeah. That's how you establish that kind of long-term relationship is by, taking a leap of faith like that.
Yeah.
He's a good man. He always does the right thing.
We cut from this scene where Hilo, for some reason, does not consider himself lucky or fortunate in any way. Like, all of his interactions with toasters have gone the same way. Shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
And succeed. It's so weird. Why does this keep happening? He doesn't stop to think about it.
His stats at the end of this level are going to be incredible. Like 100% headshot kills.
Yeah. Amazing.
Like ratio of shots fired to hits, extremely good.
What's so interesting about scenes like this are that even though Hilo is doing great at defending himself and killing Centurions, Centurions are terrifying. Every time I see one on screen, it's like a visceral reaction. They are awful looking. They're menacing. They're just the right amount of bigger than a human being, I think. Like, They're not double the height of a human being. That would just look strange. But they seem to be between 8 and 10 feet tall in a way that really works in the frame.
They're big, scary boys.
Wow. Sentinels are kind of 12 feet tall in X-Men, right? And I think that's what kind of cuts against them in the scary department. They're just obviously cartoonish, but cartoonish in that way.
I feel like, Sentinels and X-Men are every size in a weird way. Depending on what the composition requires, they can be as tall as a building or just twice as tall as someone.
Yeah.
Or in the side-scrolling video game that I play at every opportunity, regular person size.
Where do you play that? Because that was such a banger in the video arcade where I used to spend time as a kid.
X-Men. If I see it in an arcade or in in an airport, in a movie theater, I'm playing it, but I don't see it very often.
It's a great game. One of the best.
Who's your guy in that game?
Cyclops.
Yeah, I was always Cyclops too. We couldn't play together.
No.
It's too bad.
I could do Nightcrawler. I love Nightcrawler a lot.
Nightcrawler's pretty good.
X-Men.
Adama's in the big chair now. And the main thrust of the questioning is, why keep this information about the Cylons looking like people to yourself? And why keep it from your very own security apparatus? That should be the people that you tell.
Yeah, it's almost like they're asking a question about whether he has immunity from decisions that he made while in office. And it's was that advancing the office that you were elected to, or were you doing that for self-serving reasons? That's irrelevant.
He's a tight circle was the best strategy at the time. It's the strategy that makes sense for me during. And I love this back and forth that he has with her. Do you think Cylons are aboard the Audrey right now? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
The ones that haven't suicide bombed themselves yet, anyway. And yeah, he knew about Chief Tyrol and Boomer. And why didn't he stop it? I love this line by him, and I love the read of this line by him specifically. So fun.
I'm a soft touch.
It also recontextualizes Tyrol's behavior when he finds the illicit still in the tool room. It's he's probably kind of if Adama is leading by example, then so is Tyrol, right? He's following kind of a specific precedent.
It's soft touches all the way down on this ship. And the worst look of all is that by covering for Tyrell and Boomer, you're also covering for a perceived conspiracy.
Right.
Because if Tyrell and Boomer are considered involved in this plot that resulted in the suicide bombing earlier, like, wouldn't that mean that Adama's actions created the conditions for this terrible situation? And Adama stops the tribunal right there. He Zach Morris timeouts the whole thing.
We're done here. You've lost your way, Sergeant. You've lost sight of the purpose of the law.
And Hadrian's like, no, dog. Like, you remember the independent part of the independent tribunal that you blessed me with? Check it out. This is that, which means you don't have any sort of jurisdiction here. I love the moment that goes from Hadrian full of this confidence.
Yeah.
Being emboldened by Adama himself, throwing this back at Adama. The mistake Hadrian makes is not understanding that not everyone has been given the power that she has, because she defers to the Marines to put Adama back in his seat, and that's when Adama knows that he has the upper hand. These Marines are not going to listen to Hadrian. They answer to Adama, so they let Adama go, and they throw Hadrian off the ship, along with the rest of the tribunal. Amazing. Hadrian had it.
And you blew it!
She blew it at the end.
You blew it!
Yeah. It's one of those, like, Mao Zedong political power grows from the barrel of a gun moments. And because the guys with the guns are loyal to Adama, nothing she can say will change anything.
I love how there's no interstitial moment between this scene and Rosalind doing the press conference to announce the findings. Like, there's no conversation between Adama and her before we go right into this.
And there's not even like a passage of time at it. Like, we don't cut to the exterior of the Audrey 2 or anything.
Yeah.
It's just, we're in it. The tribunal has been dissolved, and this is kind of like a prettied up version of the truth of the situation. But we learned that Socinus is being like stripped of rank and like publicly named and shamed in this. And boy, does that not sit well with one Chief Tyrell.
Much in the same way as we cut from that scene at the end of the tribunal to the press conference, we cut right into Adama's quarters. Tyrell's in there to admit his relationship to Boomer, which Adama already knew about. And he tells Adama that Socinus was lying to protect him. And Adama, his position is that you can't lie on the witness stand. That's what Socinus did. So whether or not he lied about something central to what they were after in the tribunal or not, he's guilty of lying. And that means there's a punishment involved. And Tyrell's like, whoa, that's terrible because he was lying to cover for me. And Adama's like, exactly. You still have a job because this guy took the fall for you. And your job is vital. So you need to go do that job, living every day with this knowledge and this guilt that this all happened to you. Like, straighten up and get to work.
Get your shit together.
I'm not telling you shit isn't fucked up, but like, it's fucked up. Figure it out.
Tyrell goes and breaks right up with Boomer.
That it happens in the very same room as they had their canoodling session during the bombing, I think is elegant.
Yeah. It's a bookend, unlike the teeth in my mouth.
Weren't you surprised at how surprised she was? She really seems blown away by this in a way that I was like, really? You didn't see this coming?
Yeah.
The way Tyrell explains it is like the value of this to me, this being the relationship you and I have in a storeroom, isn't worth the shit that goes down that other people have to do in order to cover for us.
Right.
It's not a fair trade.
Yeah.
And this seems to make her understand. But if that didn't break up with her, asking her the question about whether or not she left that hatch open would have done it.
Oh man, is she pissed.
I might have started with that question to like make it super efficient.
Yeah.
Like as a conversation, like, you're going to break up if you ask that question. Go ahead and ask the question first.
Right. It's like throwing the person's clothes out of the apartment window onto the street after you broke up with them,
Yeah.
That's not the order you do that in.
Yeah.
Did you like this episode of Battlestar Galactica, Adam?
So say we all. So say we all.
Ben, I really like this episode, and I like it because it is a kit bash kind of genre episode. It is courtroom science fiction.
Drumhead felt really present in this.
I recently watched the Kane Mutiny Court Martial. Have you seen that yet?
Not yet. I've heard that's good.
It is so good. It's like 90 minutes of hardcore courtroom action. Like nothing takes place that isn't in the building that houses where this trial happens. I loved it.
Hubba.
And this episode isn't confined to the tribunal, but it does exist there for so much of this episode. It doesn't make me dislike Hadrian at all that she botched this at the very end. She seemed to be effectively prosecuting her case here. And these fucking people who work on the flight deck were terrible in covering it up. Like she got in there, revealed the cover up, and it just kind of exploded in a way that she couldn't control, in a way that President Roslin predicted. These things go in directions you can't predict, just as this one did. And even though it was predictable, it was unpredictable in how things concluded in a way that I found very satisfying. I did not love the look of Adama being able to end it, but I also understand it. Like, he can play whatever games he has to until the moment he makes a decision like this. There aren't enough people to fight him. He is still, like, at the apex of society.
Right.
He's still calling a bunch of these shots. So I get it. And it doesn't make him evil to dissolve the tribunal. I think he saw what was happening, which was him getting railroaded into some bullshit. It would have been unjust and it would have been wrong if Adama himself had been made to take the fall for this, because that's where everything was heading. Like, he knew about the relationship. The people involved in the relationship were covering up the Cylon thing. It's Adama's fault. He had to end it. I don't know what else he could have done. And it just got dirty at the end in a way that the show often is. Like, the way these episodes conclude are not neat, tied up in a bow, morally clean situations. Like, this was a dirty one.
Catharsis is a scarce resource in this nightmare. And
I like this episode, like all of the others, for playing it pretty real feeling in that way. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sort of begs the question, like, where should the buck stop in a context like this? Because, I mean, you're riding very firmly for not with Adama in this specific instance, but
Adama believes it should have stopped with Tyrell. It's just, like, the injustice is that the mechanism made to stop that buck in an accurate spot was unable to arrive at Tyrell's doorstep.
Yeah, well, and also in a resource scarcity context, when there's only one guy that can run the flight deck that well, you have to, like, sometimes put expediency ahead of justice in your list of priorities.
I mean, Tyrell's got to be feeling so bad. It makes you wonder if that whole distillery project is going to even happen now.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good episode, but I really think I want to look in our Priority 1 inbox.
No cover-ups there, Ben. Let's reveal what's in there right now.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
This is a Priority 1 message from Clint, and it is to Matt. And the stage direction is for me to twain it up.
Oh, yeah.
We certainly have come a long way since Descent, when my message made Adam do the first twain. Since then, I've been using my gentlemanly spycraft to bang all 12 Cylons. Yet that mission has come to an end because Shannon and I are expecting a young the boy of our own.
Wow.
There's no better pod to give you the good news.
Amazing.
Seriously amazing.
Clint's our buddy from all those shows, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like we know this guy.
Yeah.
And a hell of a reveal, much like what he did to take over many of our live shows back in the day.
Sure, hoping that this is still news. This was requested for July 5th. Won't come out for a little while after that, but congrats, Clint. That's huge.
Ben, we got a priority one message here from Vita Zed, a.k.a. Zane.
The Vita Zed.
And it's to Dr. Z, a.k.a. Gabe. I mean, I get how you get Zed out of Zane.
Uh-huh.
How do you get Gabe out of Dr. Z? Maybe there's something in the message that will illuminate this.
Are you thinking Dr. Z is the real name and Gabe is the nickname?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Their message goes like this: sending my love to Dr. Z, Commander, Dropster, and Friend. We got a project creating custom drops on the Discord, and at a time like this, I think we gotta get a few on the pod actual.
Wow.
So it seems like there are a couple of names for these drops. The first one is gonna be Where the USS Hood At by Dr. Z.
Sensors report the USS Hood is closing on an intercept course at high warp. Where the Hood? Where the Hood? Where the Hood?
Sir, we're being hailed on a secured channel by Captain DeSoto.
Where the Hood? Where the Hood? Where the Hood? All my butt back and forth between star bases. Put out.
And then there's my Dr. Z drop for Gabe.
Is there a doctor? We need a doctor!
Who exactly is qualified?
Dr. Z.
Hello, Doctor.
Dr. Z.
Doctor, what a pleasant surprise.
Why, thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Z.
Who's Doctor?
Dr. Z.
What are you doing?
It's important scientific research.
Who is conducting the research?
Dr. Z.
Doctor.
Dr. Z.
Doctor, you've been a beacon of light to me.
Dr. Z. Doctor. Dr. Z.
And signing off, Vita Zed says, love for you, buddy, always.
Wow. So this is a little bit like stepping up to a jukebox with like a USB key and playing your own MP3s through the jukebox.
You know, when you put it that way, that sounds risky as hell because all the FODs are like playing pool and video games and like, you know, enjoying their journey.
Right.
Or whatever. And record scratch time.
Yeah. Record scratch time comes for all of us.
Hey, FODs, you know that new drop you didn't know existed? Well, listen to this. Hey, our thanks to Vita Zed and everyone else who sends in a Priority One message. You can do that yourself by going to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron, writing a couple of words, having them come out of our mouths. Maybe you make some effects for us to play. Maybe you make a drop to audition to our entire audience. Our enormous audience.
I like this.
Is who would hear such a creation. So tighten it up before you even think about playing it. For all the FODs, you know what I'm saying?
I do like the idea. I mean, we've had conversations like people make drops, and we hear them occasionally, especially folks on the Discord. We don't want to use an unattributed drop, but I do like playing a drop with attribution at some point on the show. So maybe P1s are the way to do it.
Yeah, P1's a great audition for the concept. And look at Vita Zed, first in line. MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron. It's a great way of supporting our shows, and we really appreciate it.
We sure do. Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin! I feel like this is going to be kind of a mirror Larkin, a negative Larkin. Because I want to give it to Chief Tyrrell. He finally started thinking with his mind. Instead of his dick mind.
Yeah.
Way to go with the breakup, man. I know you didn't want to do it. It is extremely late to have done it. He was direct. He told Boomer the reasons. He made it so that there would be no chance of getting back together. These are the rules you must keep in mind when you're breaking up with a person. Like, be definitive, be clear, end it. And he did. So it's not super Larkin-y. He was more of a Larkin in every single other episode. I think this is just an Edward Larkin of appreciation, an award that he deserves for doing a hard thing. So he's going to be mine for this. What about you?
Yeah, he was thinking with his dick, and he was thinking really hard. I think I'm going to give it to number 6 for her rage out in this episode. I mean, not only is she speaking in like cheap aphorisms to him, it's like, why do you want a Cylon detector? Like, I know that it's not going to detect you, but like, what are you? Are you actually a Cylon or what?
Yeah. She's working so far ahead of him that it's really not possible to know at this point.
He doesn't seem smart, you know? Like, he's too horny every time she shows up to, like, catch these things. Like, why would you want a Cylon detector if you're here to advance the cause of the Cylons?
Do you think genius in the conventional sense is impossible? Because, like, the Gaius Baltar character is portrayed as extremely smart in a very narrow way.
Yeah.
And he is clearly an idiot in many other ways. I kind of want to export this to everyone in human history. I'm sure Einstein was a fucking dope in certain areas, but he is considered a genius by many.
Yeah.
You know? Like, the idea that this is such a binary, like you are either a genius and intellectually infallible, I think is wrong. We're all human.
Yeah, I think that that's true. Like, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and some of them are, social, emotional, and some of them are intellectual. And Gaius Baltar definitely has a social, emotional deficit and big wet spot in the front of his trousers.
That ain't piss. That's got nothing to do with piss.
Gross. Ben, why don't you tell us what the next episode's going to be while I go dig up a warning bois?
The next episode is episode 7, 6 Degrees of Separation. How'd they fuck that up?
I mean, we could have assumed that this title was coming, right?
When Baltar and the number 6 who lives in his head have a falling out, she abandons him only to surface a short while later aboard the Audrey 2, but now she's called Shelley Godfrey. Everyone can see her, and she's telling them that she has evidence passed down by the late Dr. Amarak that will prove Baltar sold out the human race to the Cylons. Wow.
Amarak.
Didn't think we would get Amarak name checked again. That's amazing.
Love that. Wow. She's back and she's real?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Made flesh.
It's going to be a good one, Ben.
Let's do our Warning Boys segment. This is, of course, a segment where we shout out somebody who went out onto Beyonce's internet and told people that they like a Star Trek podcast. A brave thing to do by any measure. We really appreciate it. Gets the word out about our show, especially, those iTunes reviews, but also recommending the show on social media.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
Ben, over on Mastodon, a handle called Saturday Night Live commented, I gotta say, I'm so happy I found this podcast. I've always loved Trek, and it's at its best when you're watching with somebody else, but it's very hard to find somebody else to watch Star Trek with. Not anymore. I think Saturday Night Live is talking about the legion of Friends of DeSoto out there. Friends of DeSoto you can find all over the place and all over social media. Watching episodes together, listening to our program together.
Yeah.
It's a fun community, and it's growing every week.
Much appreciated, Saturday Night Live. Well, with that, we are going to throw the keys to the pod car over to our producer, Wynde Priddy, who will now tell you some more things.
I heard Wynde was going to be corporeal in the next episode, and she's going to go by a different name.
Everyone can see her?
Wait, what?
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Hope you're loving Hot Cylon Summer. Can't wait to hear more about Dr. Amarak next week. Thanks as always to all of the Max Fun members who support this podcast on a monthly basis. It's quick and easy to set up a membership, and you'll get instant access to a ton of great bonus content. We appreciate your support. MaximumFun.org/join. You can also help out for free by subscribing to the Greatest Trek YouTube channel or by leaving a 5-star rating and review on your podcatcher. We also appreciate your word of mouth recommendations. Thanks to Nick Dittmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Bill Tilley and Rob Adler for running all of the @GreatestTrek social media pages that you can find and follow out there on the internet. Use the hashtag GreatestTrek when you post about the show, and don't forget to sign up for the Greatest newsletter at gach.biz/mail. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
We're not going to spoil things for you. We can barely get the names right on this show.
Barely? We can't.
Maximum Fun, a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly by you.